The Day I Fought My Neighbor, Part 2, is a fight that took place between Jack Johnson, who was the colored heavyweight champion in 1903, when he would defeat Denver Ed Martin. And he became the world heavyweight champion in 1908, and Sydney, Australia, when he would defeat Norman Russo, better known as Tommy Burns. And Jack Johnson was one of the greatest defensive fighters of all times. He is to your left. Now to your right, you had Joe Jeanette. He was 5 foot 10 inches, all muscle. He was out of Hoboken, New Jersey. And he spent his time in North Bergen. He would reside in Weehawken, New Jersey. We're going to continue with our fight series of When I Fought My Neighbor. I'm Scrapbook Boxing. And let's take a look at these two great fighters right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. But Joe Jeanette, who is to your right, was born August 26, 1879, in North Bergen, New Jersey. He died July 2nd, 1958 in Weehawken, New Jersey. Now he stood 5 foot 10 inches. Now in today's time, 5 foot 10 for a heavyweight would be considered short. But keep in mind, Iron Mike Tyson was 5'10", 5'10 and a half. Based on who you spoke with, he would be 5'11". Joe Jeanette weighed 185 to 205 pounds. Now 185 would be equivalent to Rocky Marciano's weight. 205 pounds would be less weight than Iron Mike Tyson. But Joe Jeanette had 104 total bouts. He had 82 wins, 69 knockouts, 10 losses. He was stopped twice. And he had 10 draws. Now, Joe Jeanette would be in the ring with Georges Carpentier. He was a French light heavyweight champion. But he was a champion of the world. He would defeat Battling Siki. And he would lose to Battling Siki and lose his light heavyweight champion of the world. Joe Jeanette would be in the ring with Jack Thompson, battling Jim Johnson, Jeff Clark, who was known as the Jappling Ghost, Bill Tate, battling Black Bill, Topeka Jack Johnson, Sam Langford, Jack Twin Sullivan, Porky Dan Flynn, Tony Ross, Sam McVeigh, Sandy Ferguson, George Cole, Jack Johnson, and Kid Norfolk. What a list of names that Joe Jeanette would be in. He would have an outstanding performance in 1909 in Paris, France. It would be a 47-round knockout. And what was incredible, that both Sam McVeigh and Joe Jeanette would be knocked down, equivalent of 47 times. The fight would actually end in 49 rounds of a scheduled 50-round bout. He would face Jack Johnson. He was known as the Galveston Giant. Born March 31st, 1878 in Galveston, Texas. Jack Johnson died June 10th, 1946 in Lehigh, North Carolina. It was said that he was making a sharp turn at the speed of 70 miles per hour when he flipped off the curb and down a cliff. He was en route to watching the rematch of the Billy Conn-Joe Louis fight. He had 78 total bouts, 56 wins, 35 knockouts, 11 losses. He had 8 draws and he was stopped 6 times. Now he'd be in a ring with Bearcat Wright, Roughhouse Wilson, Homer Smith, and Frank Moran. He would lose his title in 1915 to Jess Willard. he would face battling Jim Johnson and fireman Jim Flynn. Jim Flynn would stop Jack Johnson in the very first round. He'd be in the ring with James J. Jeffries, who he would knock out in 15 rounds. 1910, Reno, Nevada. Jack Johnson would face Stanley Ketchel. He would stretch him out clean with one right hand. He would dust off a half a dozen teeth embedded in his glove. Johnson would be in the ring with Tony Ross and Bill Lang and Bob Fitzsimmons and Peter Felix. Peter Felix was a cousin of the Black Prince. Peter Jackson. And Jack Johnson would be in the ring with Joe Jeanette 8 times. Bill Lang, Black Bill, Marvin Hart, Denver Ed Martin, who he would take the colored heavyweight championship belt from in 1903. He'd be in the ring with Hank Griffin, Mexican Pete Everett, Ed Johnson, and Jack Jeffries, who was the brother of Jim Jeffries. Now, Joe Jeanette lost 5 of his 6 matches in the city of brotherly love, which is located in Philadelphia. In Jeanette's first 2 years as a professional fighter, he would find himself facing the colored heavyweight champion, Jack Johnson. Jeanette and Johnson's rivalry ended, with Johnson favoring 3 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws, 2 no contests. In competitions of 1909, Joe Jeanette would face Jack McVeigh. You see, Jack Johnson would have to give up his colored heavyweight championship belt when he would defeat Tommy Burns for the heavyweight championship of the world. And Joe Jeanette and Sam McVeigh would fight for that title February 19th, 1909. It would be one of the greatest fights in the history of the game. Now, Tuesday, May 9th, 1905, Jack Johnson would face Joe Jeanette. He would face him in Philadelphia. No decision. May 19th, 1905, Jack Johnson would be in the ring with Joe Jeanette, Philadelphia, no decision in 6 rounds. Saturday, he would win a disqualification with Joe Jeanette. November 25th, 1905, the National AC Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. Johnson defends his World Colored Heavyweight Championship belt. He would hold the belt for 2 seconds, and he would be disqualified. You see, when Joe Jeanette would go back to the corner, he would complain of his eyes not being able to see very well because of thumbing. And he would have a lot of pain in his groin area. And after complaining to the doctor at the end of the fight, they would disqualify Jack Johnson, and Joe Jeanette would become a victor over Jack Johnson. December 2nd, on a Saturday night, Jack Johnson and Joe Jeanette would face each other in Philadelphia. Once again, no decision in 6 rounds. January 16th, Jack Johnson versus Joe Jeanette. No decision in 3 rounds. New York, Sharkey Athletic Club. March 14th, Joe Jeanette would face Jack Johnson, Baltimore, Maryland, and he would lose in 15 rounds. November 26th, Jeanette would face Jack Johnson in Portland, Oregon, and he would have a 10-round draw. December 9th, Jeanette and Johnson, New York. Jeanette would lose in 3 rounds. September 20th, Joe Jeanette versus Jack Johnson, Philadelphia, no decision in 6 rounds. You see, these 2 men would have great fights with one another. But when Jack Johnson became heavyweight champion in 1908 and defeating Tommy Burns, Joe Jeanette would never get a title shot from Jack Johnson. Why? Because Joe Jeanette was one of the toughest opponents of Jack Johnson's career. Phenomenal fighter was Joe Jeanette, and one of the greatest defensive fighters was Jack Johnson. Joe Jeanette and Jack Johnson were neighbors in their community, and they would face one another 8 times. Salute to these great fighters. Salute to my subscribers. Thanks for joining me on part 2 of When I Fought My Neighbor, right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series.